Hey guys, it's Cindy. Hi again. I hope you guys are doing well. It's Sunday currently in New York, 10:49 p.m. Um, and today I wanted to talk about the time that I lost my childhood pet. I didn't lose him in the sense of he got lost in the street. I speak in the sense of the time when he was diagnosed with a terminal disease. Um, and unfortunately, I had to put him down. He had heart failure. This was in 2018 when we took him to the vet. My family and we took him to a vet in Midtown East, and his name was Peluche. He was a Cocker Spaniel mix with Poodle. He was actually a gift to me when I was just 6 years old, maybe 7. My mom, she came home one day and she told me, Cindy, you have a surprise. Come downstairs. And to my surprise, it was Peluche. For those that don't know Spanish, Peluche means stuffed animal in English, because that's what he looked like. He looked like a little like panda bear. And I remember that experience was very traumatic for me, because this is a pet of mine that has been with me for, throughout my childhood. I was 6 years old when I met him, and I lost him when I was 23. And he and I were very close. When my mom, brought him home, she told me that he was a rescue. He used to get abused by his previous family. When he came to our house for the first time, he was afraid of everyone. He couldn't see you lift up a broom, because he would just run away or start shaking or run under the table and hide for hours. He just could not see a broom. He would flinch at every movement that you'll do. So I remember I had to tread very carefully around him. I didn't know anything about dogs. I was just a innocent kid that sees a dog, and I remember seeing him like suffering because everything just terrorized him. And as a kid, I remember I made it my mission. That's what I said as a kid. It's going to be my mission for him to heal that trauma. And the way that a 6, 7-year-old heals a dog's trauma, my way was staying up past midnight hours with him. My mom, in her apartment, she has a very long hallway. So while everybody was sleeping, Peluche and I would be in the hallway running back and forth. He would be very afraid, but you can tell that he wanted to play and to interact with me. And for many months, I always did that. I always played with him when everybody was asleep. Just he and I in the hallway, back and forth. And then later on, he became very attached to me. He even developed separation anxiety with me, because I was the only person that he felt very safe with. He would not eat if I did not come home. My mom had a camera in the hallway, and when I was not home, when I got older, maybe in high school, she always knew when I wasn't home. She always knew when I wasn't home because Belucha would be in the hallway just sitting there waiting, and his food would be untouched. So my mom would always find out by looking at the camera, and if she saw Belucha in the hallway waiting for someone, it means Cindy is not home. So he was a little snitch in that way, um, without him knowing. So my mom, she knew. Um, and in 2018, something seemed off with him. He was coughing a lot. We didn't understand why. But for most of his life, he was very healthy. When he turned 15 years old, I think that's when he started developing health problems. And I remember we went to the vet. It's hard to talk about because it just makes me really relive the moment. But it was, I want to say, in the middle of the night. One day, we noticed that the coughing was more persistent, and we got him in the car. We drove to the vet, and I remember they put us in a room with him. And I was 23. I just remember hearing the vet say the words heart failure. He said Belucha has heart failure. When I heard those words come out of the vet's mouth, my family was with me in the room, and they all just turned to look at me because they know how much Belucha meant to me. And all I did was get out the room. All I did was get out the room, go to the bathroom, go into a bathroom stall, and just start pouring my eyes out. Because heart failure to me meant that he was going to go soon. And I know that when dogs get older, people think about, oh, well, 15 is the age where they like, that's the longest that they live for, because dogs have very short lives. And as soon as I just heard heart failure, I think my whole world just came falling down, because I didn't know how to do life without him. I was 6. I was 23 when we got the news, and that was maybe like over a decade. That was over a decade. I forgot to mention that when Belucha came into my life, he was a puppy. He was 7 months. And yeah, he was with me through everything, through family problems, through breakups, through like college, through high school. He was there. And my whole day could be a horrible day, and I'll come home and he would be there, like, waiting for me and waiting to give me like his unconditional love, which is what makes a dog companionship so special, because they don't judge, they're just always there. So that night that the vet confirmed that he had heart failure, they gave us options. They said, hey, you can put him down tonight because it's a terminal disease, or you can put him on medication, have him stay at the hospital overnight for a couple of nights to stay monitored, and the longest that he'll live is 5 months. That's what they told us. If you keep him on medication, it's just to keep the liquid out of his lungs. He's gonna pee more. If you want that second option to keep him on medication, that's what's gonna happen, is he will only live up to 5 more months, but that's pretty much it. And I remember just my face was so swollen from crying. My mom and my brothers were looking at me. They saw that I was in pain and they felt helpless because I was not prepared for those news. And so we went with the second option. We kept him at the hospital to be monitored for a couple of more nights. Those nights that he was at the hospital, they didn't let me stay with him, so we had to come home. And for those 2 nights, it was very lonely for me because Beluche was always with me. He slept with me. He was always attached to me. And for those first 2 nights, I suffered tremendously missing him because he wasn't gone, but he was physically away at the vet hospital. And I remember torturing myself those nights and looking under the bed and seeing just nothingness. You know, that's where he used to like to sleep, under my bed. And I would just torture myself and call out his name. And all that would be in return was the silence. Because usually when I called out his name, doesn't matter whether he was sleeping or eating, he'll always come and see what's up. So he would come, you know, when I would call him. But for those first nights when he was away at the hospital, I would call out his name and just cry every time I wouldn't see him. Long story short, we kept him on medication. He did pee more often because of the medication. And just like the vet said that he would live up to 5 months more, longer, that's exactly what happened. I haven't spoken about this in a long time, so I think it's sometimes talking about it just makes you relive the memory, and it makes you kind of be in like a shock disbelief that I'm just talking so naturally about it, but this was actually an event that happened in my life. And then when I look around my mom's apartment, it just brings back memories when I had him here. And it's just hard to believe it's been so long. I don't even want to remember the date of his death. I don't even want to think about it. But 5 months later, I woke up in the middle of the night and Beluche was coughing blood. Beluche was coughing blood. I woke up in a panic. He was coughing, coughing, coughing. I saw blood all over my room. And luckily, my neighbor at the time, she was a vet, and prior to Beluche's death, she told me that no matter what, whether it's night or early, or she didn't care. She said, if you ever need me, you can always knock on my door and I'll come out to help you with anything regarding your dog. And it was 2 a.m. that night, and I knocked on her door. She lives right across from my apartment, from the apartment that I lived. And I knocked on her door. She had just woken up, and she didn't even think twice. She grabbed Beluche from my arms. She said, "Call the cab now, and we're leaving." And we went running down the stairs. Beluche's on her arms, coughing, coughing, coughing. We get inside the cab. She rolls down the windows. She tells the driver, "Please drive faster because this is an emergency. We need to get to the vet now. And I remember the driver just driving very, very fast in the highway. And I remember just looking at Beluche next to me. Nicole, I don't want to say her name, but yes, my friend, the vet, she had him in his arms. And I remember we were in the highway, the wind's blowing in his face. And I just turned to look at him. And I remember he gave me a look. He turned back to look at me. And it was like a look where he and I both know, like, it was a look where it's like, it was a look that it was almost like we both knew that it was coming to an end. It was like a final look of, I don't know, it was just a look. Because in midst of his pain and suffering, I think he always found comfort and security in me. And it was almost like mom, it's gonna be all right. Because it was just a quick look. In the midst of his coughing and suffering, he still managed to look at me and turn his head despite my friend having him in her arms. When we got to the vet, they put him in a oxygen tank. And then the vet, he asked me a couple of questions. I explained his history. I explained, because this time we went to a different vet hospital, and I remember that new vet, they told me, okay, Cindy, you know, you went to the vet hospital 5 months ago. They told you that he will live up to this many months. Unfortunately, that is true. And you just let us know when you're ready. So I knew what that meant. I knew that meant it was time to say goodbye. So they put me in the room with him. He was just sniffing everywhere. He peed in the room because he was already sick. They put me in the room with him, and the vet came in and she said, "You call me when you're ready." And honestly, that's the worst thing they can tell you, because what do you mean when I'm ready? I'm not ready. Like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here with my child. I want to be home with my child. I don't want to even be in this place. So the vet, she said, "Whenever you're